Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, welcome to Islamic Center Movement live program for Shahadat of Imam Jafar-e-Sadiq A.S. Inshallah, we're going to start with the recitation of Surah Yasin for Isal Sawab, Sayyid Raza Haider and Sayyid Shabi Haider Bhangash, son of Sayyid Habib Haider Bhangash. Please recite Surah Fatiha after the Surah Yasin. I'd like to request Brother Daniel Himani to recite the Surah Yasin for Isal Sahab. Par Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajum. Bismillah, brother.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم ولا يمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردنا الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون. يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون. ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون. وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون. فآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون. وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون. سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون. وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون. والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم. والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالأرجون القديم. لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون. وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون. وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين. وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون. وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها مؤرزين. وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين. ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين. ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون. فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون. ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون. قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون. إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون. فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون. إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون. لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون. سلام قولا من رب رحيم. وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون. ألم أحد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين. وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم. ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون. هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون. اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مزيا ولا يرجعون ومن نؤمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي لها إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقا قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم
اللهم صل علی محمد و آل محمد وعجل فرجہم. جزاک اللہ بردر دانیال ہمانی. جس طرح آپ مومین سے پروگرام کے شروع میں گزارش کی گئی تھی ایک سورہ فاتحہ کی، ایصال ثواب سورہ یاسین کے لیے سید رضا حیدر، سید شبی حیدر بھنگش، سن آف سید حبیب حیدر بھنگش، پلیز سورہ فاتحہ کی گزارش ہے آپ لوگ سورہ فاتحہ پڑھے گا، کیونکہ ٹائم کی قلت کی وجہ سے ہم جو ہے اپنے پروگرام کو جاری رکھتے ہیں. ایک دفعہ پھر آپ تمام سامعین کو دنیا میں جہاں جہاں اس براڈ کاسٹ کو سنا جا رہا ہے اسلامک سینٹر مومن کی جانب سے آپ سب کو خوش آمدید کہتے ہیں. مجلس اعضا شہادت سلسلہ امام جعفر صادق علیہ السلام اسلامک سینٹر مومن لائف کی براڈ کاسٹ پہ ہو رہی ہے. آج ہم الحمدللہ بلیس ہیں کہ ہمارے ساتھ نارتھ امریکہ کی ایک بہت جانی پہچانی آواز اور مشہور نوحہ خان سید علی کاظمی موجود ہیں. اب اور آج سلام اور مرثیے کے ساتھ ساتھ سید علی کاظمی صاحب نوحہ خوانی بھی کریں گے اسلامک سینٹر مومن لائف کی براڈ کاسٹ پہ. ہم بہت مشکور اور ممنون ہیں اسلامک سینٹر مومن کی جانب سے سید علی کاظمی کے کہ انہوں نے ہماری دعوت کو قبول کیا اور اس مجلس اعضا میں پرسہ دینے کے لیے شرکت کر رہے ہیں. اب بنا کسی تاخیر کے میں گزارش کروں گا جناب علی کاظمی صاحب سے کہ وہ 100 مرثیہ سلام اور مرثیہ پیش کریں. بسم اللہ علی بھائی.
السلام علیکم یا علی مدد. آپ کو ویڈیو
نہیں آ رہی علی بھائی, ویڈیو نہیں آ رہی ہے آپ کی.
اچھا میں 1 سیکنڈ پہ ری لوڈ کر لیتا ہوں, 1 سیکنڈ
جی
بس.
جی.
جی
جب تک علی کاظمی بھائی ریلوڈ کر رہے ہیں, میں ایک دفعہ پھر اپنے سامعین کو جو کہ شکاگو اسلامک سینٹر معصوم اور میامی فلوریڈا کے امام بارگاہ ہیں, آج ہمیں جوائن کر رہی ہیں اس براڈ کاسٹ پہ, اور دنیا میں جہاں جہاں بھی سامعین کرام اس براڈ کاسٹ کو سن رہے ہیں ان سب کو خوش آمدید کہتے ہیں. علی بھائی ابھی بھی آپ کی ویڈیو نہیں آ رہی ہے.
پتہ نہیں کیوں نہیں آ رہی. ویب کیم تو آن ہے.
باکر
اس کے اندر جو ہے نا, آپ اپنا ویڈیو جو ہے اس کو سلیکٹ کریں گے, اس کے اندر زوم کے اوپر جو آپشن جو ہے اس میں دیکھیں کون سا آپ کا کیمرہ سلیکٹڈ ہے.
مائکروسافٹ کیمرہ فرنٹ ہے. چوز ورچوئل بیک گراؤنڈ ویڈیو سیٹنگز. مائکروسافٹ کیمرہ فرنٹ کے اوپر چیک مارک ہوا ہے.
دیٹ از دا ون رائٹ.
یا I don't know why it's not doing it.
نہیں, آپ کی ویڈیو جو ہے نا آن ہے علی بھائی. آئی تھنک اس کے شٹر میں خاص ہے. I don't know if you have a shutter or not آپ کی ویڈیوز پہ لینس پہ.
No, it's just my laptop. اور اس کا webcam is on. It says Windows camera is using the webcam.
Windows camera. ایک سیکنڈ میں آپ کی ویڈیو اسٹاپ کرتا ہوں. دین یو ٹرن بیک آن علی بھائی.
Sure. You cannot start your video because the host has stopped it. Okay.
Let me ask you to start again.
Start my video. Okay. Okay, still nothing. So I think
کرتے ہیں, کوئی مسئلہ نہیں.
ہاں جسٹ شروع کر دیتے ہیں. سلام اس کے بعد دیکھ لیں گے بعد میں.
جی جی.
علی بھائی بسم اللہ.
جی السلام علیکم یا علی مدد. سب کو تمام مومنین و مومنات کو میری طرف سے سلام. بہت شکریہ انتظامیہ مومن سینٹر کا جنہوں نے مجھے اس ثواب میں شامل ہونے کا موقع دیا. بغیر کسی تاخیر کے ایک بلند تر صلوات پڑھ لیجیے.
اللہم
اللہ
صلی علی محمد محمد وعجل فرجہم.
مجرئی خلق میں ان آنکھوں نے کیا کیا ہاں دیکھا. مجرئی خلق میں ان آنکھوں نے کیا کیا ہاں دیکھا. پر کہیں سبت پیمبر سنا آقا ہاں دیکھا. مجرئی خلق نے میں نے دیکھا لمحے شاہ کو آلودہ خون میں نے دیکھا لمحے شاہ کو آلودہ خون میں نے عباس کو بے جان لب دریا ہاں دیکھا مجرئی خلق میں میں نے دیکھا علی اصغر کا گلا خون میں تر میں نے دیکھا علی اصغر کا گلا خون میں تر میں نے زخمی علی اکبر کا کلیجہ ہاں دیکھا مجرئی خلق میں ایک گٹھڑی شہدی پوشت پہ لائے جس میں ایک گٹھڑی شہدی پوشت پہ لائے جس میں میں نے ٹکڑے ہوئے قاسم کا سراپا ہاں دیکھا مجرئی خلق میں اور کہتی تھی زینب مستر کے خدا خیر کرے کہتی تھی زینب مستر کے خدا خیر کرے رات کو خواب میں اریا سر زہرا ہاں دیکھا مجرئی خلق میں اور ہائے کیوں ہو نہ گئی کور کے ان آنکھوں نے ہائے کیوں ہو نہ گئی کور کے ان آنکھوں نے اور قید خانے میں سکینہ کا جنازہ ہاں دیکھا مجرئی खल्क में और जाके ज़ैनब ने मदीने में कहा सुग़रा से कहूँ किस मुँह से के परदेस में क्या क्या हाँ देखा मुझ रही खल्क़ में बर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलावत
अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद व अज्जिल फरजहुम. Jazakallah Ali Bhai. Thank you so much. Inshallah, we're going to listen to Naha from Brother Ali Kazmi after the Majlis.
इंशाल्लाह.
Now, inshallah, I'm going to request Maulana Sheikh Amin Rastani to recite the Majlis of Shahadat of Imam Jafar-e-Sadiq A.S. in English, inshallah. Maulana, Bismillah. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
Condolences to the dear brothers and sisters tuning in on the Shahadat of our sixth Imam, the father and founder of the Ja'fari school of thought, Imam Jafar-e-Sadiq A.S. May Allah accept all of your aza in these days and nights. And may Allah, inshallah, give us tawfiq to follow the footsteps of our Imam. These Imams that Allah has sent to us one after another, brothers and sisters, they play different roles. And one of those roles, one of those responsibilities that they fulfill is the responsibility of fixing the perspective of the people. This is something that I have touched on before as well. We have so many hadiths, including verses of Quran, that I call hadiths and verses of perspective. They are perspective hadiths, perspective verses, meaning they give us the right perspective in life when it comes to how we're supposed to live, what our approach is supposed to be towards spirituality, religiosity, and so on and so forth. Tonight, because it is the Shahada of our sixth Imam, we want to sit at his door and gain knowledge, knock on his door and have him share with us some words of wisdom, some words that will give us perspective. I've chosen a hadith. Well, actually, I didn't choose a hadith. One of the youth of our community, alhamdulillah, was asking about this hadith a while back. And I told them that this is a good topic to talk about, actually. Instead of me just explaining to you, let's leave this for a lecture that we can have. And so tonight, inshallah, I'm going to be sharing with you a hadith I call a perspective hadith, that will inshallah give us a little bit of light and guidance in regards to a specific aspect of our religion, which has to do with spirituality and religiosity. So tonight I'm going to try to go as fast as I can because we are running a little behind on time. First I want to discuss what happens when we don't have the right perspectives, how it can hurt us in this life and in our hereafter. There are 4 or 5 examples that I want to give of how not having the right perspective can be a problem sometimes for us. And also after that, I want to share with you the hadith that has been chosen. And after that, the lessons that can be drawn from it and what perspectives we are supposed to gain from this hadith. With that, I will begin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. There are about 4 or 5 things that I could think of that when you don't have the right perspective, one of those 4 or 5, if not more than one, can take place for us and can hurt us in one way or another. For example, when we, let's take thawab and rewards and jaza of our good actions, as an example. Sometimes just not having the right perspective can cause trouble to the point for us that we will lose and miss out on the thawab of a good act that we do, or it can at least get rid of and hinder that desired spiritual effect, that positive effect that that good deed could have had on our iman in this life. So, for example, a person who's doing a good act, if their perspective on this good act is that I am doing God a favor by doing this. I am doing Islam a favor by doing this. I'm doing the Holy Prophet Imam Hussein a favor by doing this, and especially the way I do it. This sometimes can get in the way of that good that we could have gotten out of that deed. But the perspective that the Quran gives us is that don't look for favor, putting your favor and minnat on Allah. La tamannu ala Allahi islamakum. The Quran says, you people who embrace Islam, sometimes you embrace it in a way as if you are the one doing a favor for Allah. No, Allah doesn't need your Islam, you need your Islam. And having this perspective won't hurt Allah either. It's going to hurt you. It's the wrong perspective. And so Allah fixes that. La tamunnu ala Allahi islamakum. Don't have minnat on Allah for your Islam, because you're only hurting yourself. These are reminders. Hadiths also will give us reminders when it comes to our good deeds, what type of perspective we're supposed to have. I mean, come on, look at the du'as that we have in the month of Ramadan. Look at the du'as that we have from the Ahlul Bayt, where they are constantly telling Allah, "Oh Allah, accept from me the little that I'm offering, the yasir that I'm offering, the little bit that I'm offering, and forgive the great sins that I have committed. Waqfu anil kathir," and so on and so forth. You can think of so many examples of this. So that's one perspective. Another perspective that if you don't get it right, it can cause trouble is it'll get you in trouble. So, for example, some people, their perspective of the deen of religion is that it is here to help us in those things that science, technology cannot help us in. And this results in superstition. It's as if sometimes you get the feeling with some people, their perspective of religion is that religion is here to solve all those jinn issues that we have, the tilism issues that we have. Someone has done jadoo to me, things like that. Tell me which dua to recite that will fix this problem for me. Lots of times there is no dua for it. Lots of times I made a mistake and now I'm paying the price of the mistake that I made. This is a world of cause and effect. But if someone's perspective is such, they develop this idea of having a superstitious religion, and that will in turn hurt them when they don't get the answer that they're expecting from God. And not to mention how it'll hurt others as well. Sometimes, and this is the third one, that sometimes it will hurt not you, but it'll hurt others. You yourself, you are super religious, okay? You are super religious. That's good for you. You go hard on yourself, that's great. You do extra ihtiyat, that's great. But your perspective on religion is that religion is supposed to be such. Religion is supposed to be a burden. Religion is supposed to be super hard. And if I ever find myself being comfortable, then that's a problem in my religiosity. This is the wrong perspective. And this ends up, especially when we grow up older and we have our own kids and our own families, we end up hurting not ourselves necessarily, but others. Those children of ours that we impose our understanding of religion on. I have countless examples of this, of people who have complained to me now in their 20s, 30s maybe, where they're telling me, yeah, our parents, that's what they did. Yeah. Now, no one's going to blame our parents. No one's going to point the finger. They tried their best, but we can't stay like this either. Brothers and sisters have to, as the generations come one after another, as we educate ourselves more and more, as we get more and more familiar with what religion really is all about, yes, we have to make less mistakes or else we're going to hurt others. Before you know it, we have put culture in the place of religion. And what has happened is we have turned people off and they run away. Yes, we have to see what those priorities of Islam are. Now that's just an example. Culture is a good thing, but too much of it can be a bad thing. The same way religion itself and religiosity itself, too much of it can sometimes be a problem. You'll see in the story that I mentioned, inshallah, today from Imam Jafar-e-Sadiq, how sometimes even too much religiosity when it's not necessary can hurt somebody's deen, can turn them away from deen, and so on. Sometimes, I want to share with you the fourth thing that I had in mind. Sometimes of negative things that can happen when you don't have the right perspective. Sometimes you just take away from your focus, your own focus, on something that is very important and you are actually doing right as well. For example, sometimes when people get into that spiritual wayfaring, especially when they're younger, they're looking around at others to see is this person more spiritual or am I more spiritual? Who cares? Who cares what others are doing? Now, we're not saying to be oblivious to our surroundings completely or anything like that, and not to be to keep up with the times. No one's saying that, but who cares if so-and-so is at an elevated level of spirituality or a lower level of spirituality? That's not going to do anything for you. This person's perspective is such that you get the feeling that the way they look at things, they feel like if they're going to be higher, then everyone else has to be lower. That's not the case. That's not how it works. In this whole in this arena of spiritual growth, yes, everyone can get first place. So this person's perspective is wrong when they're comparing it to, I don't know, a race where you can only have one person that's going to be first place. No. In this game of, I don't even like to call it game, but in this arena, in this race of spiritual wayfaring, yes, everyone can be first place. I call it a race because Allah uses this term in the Quran. Sabiqu ila maghfiratin min rabbikum. It means sabiqu. Yeah, in Farsi we have this word musabiqah. Yeah, sibaq, which means to race. Now, in this case, racing for a good purpose, which is spiritual growth. Yeah, but the person's perspective causes them to lose focus on themselves and instead put their focus on, these are the things shaitan does to us sometimes. And if you're younger, it's okay. You just have to be aware of this and be aware of this and slowly try to work on it, where you reach a point where you don't care really much about where others are in that spiritual race. I want to be where I need to be. And finally, sometimes not having the right perspective causes us to waste our time for something that wasn't worth it. A person has this perspective that if I serve others, yes, it will do a lot for me and it will compensate and make up for my own shortcomings when it comes to my responsibilities towards Allah, for example, towards my family and so on. No. This is the wrong perspective. If a person fixes their perspective, knows what the priorities are, then yes, let them go and help others. Let them go serve Islam. Let them go serve, I don't know, the community, whatever. But if a person has the wrong perspective, they might put their time and energy into something that is not a priority in Islam. As a result of it not being a priority in Islam, they're just wasting their time. So these are a few examples of how having the right perspective is super important. And who is there to give us this perspective? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Quran, sent the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sent the Ahl Bayt, and by extension, scholars throughout the history of Tashayyu' and Shi'ism till today are benefiting from these teachings and the light given by these figures. All right, having said that, I want to move into the second segment of our talk tonight, and I hope you forgive me if I'm speaking a little faster. I want to share with you a hadith, a perspective hadith, in which the Imam fixes the perspective of one of his companions, yes, in order that they get it right. They don't have to suffer from any of those negative things that I mentioned and gave examples of in the beginning of the talk. This hadith, it says that Imam Sadiq A.S, he was in Hira. Now Hira is in Kufa, close to Kufa, they say. And some people out there don't know that Imam al-Sadiq actually had some trips to Iraq. It wasn't that the Imam was only in Medina. Most, if not all of these trips that he had, there's a difference of opinion on the number of times he was summoned to go. But all in all, there at least once or twice the Imam has gone to Iraq, if not more, they say. As I said, there might be a difference of opinion here. So it says that Imam Jafar-e-Sadiq sent his khadim, his servant, while he was in Hira. The Imam was in Hira. So the Imam sends his servant and a few others also along with him. This person goes, takes care of the business, comes back. And this is where the hadith starts now. The hadith goes like this. It says, فَسَأَلَنِي. So then the Imam comes to him and speaks to him after that he's gone and done the job. Done. سألني عما بعثني له فأخبرته فحمد الله. Did you get the job done? Yes, I did. Alhamdulillah, the Imam says. ثم جرى ذكر قوم فقلت جعلت فداك إنا نبرأ منهم إنهم لا يقولون ما نقول. And it says that after I informed him of the mission being accomplished and the job getting done, we started, apparently the Imam brought up, or maybe this person brought it up, it doesn't say, but he says that, our talk went towards a group of people. Yes, dhikru qawman. We started speaking of a group of people. And so I told the Imam, may I be your fida, may I be your sacrifice. These people that you're talking about, we disassociate ourselves from them. Okay. Nabra'u. Nabra'u, we've all heard this word tabarri, or some say tabarra. Nabra'u minhum. We disassociate ourselves from them. Why? إنهم لا يقولون ما نقول. They don't say what we say. They don't believe in what we believe in. Now, the first question the Imam asks him is this. قال, and by the way, right here, we have to see. He says, they don't believe in that which we believe in. So he makes it about himself a little bit too here. Which right here, like especially our younger guys, our younger brothers and sisters out there, we have to beware of this idea of me, we. This is what we believe in. No, this is what we think is the haqq, and we try to follow it, okay? We have to make sure there's no ego in there whatsoever. It says, the Imam says now to him, يَتَوَلَّوْنَ وَلَا يَقُولُونَ مَا تَقُولُونَ تَبْرَؤُونَ مِنْهُمْ. This group of people, they have our wilayah though, they follow our commands. Yatawallawna means that they take us as their wali. Yes, that means they follow our command. But they just don't believe in our imamat the way, well, not imamat, but in certain things of the imams that you do, and that's enough for you to disassociate yourselves from them. Now, this has always been something throughout history, throughout the history of Shi'ism and the theology of Shi'ism. We have different concepts that, yes, the Shia during the time of the Imams, when the Imams were alive even, were debating amongst each other. Those of you who know, Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman, one of the greatest companions of the Imams, they would speak ill of him to Imam al-Rida because they would say he exaggerates imamat. So, for example, he believes in infallibility. And Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman would hear about this and he would weep to Imam al-Rida, saying, look, they're upset, they're calling me out and even putting labels on me because I believe in something that they don't believe in. The Imams had to deal with this. All the way till today, we have this issue. Now, in mainstream Shi'ism today, we believe in infallibility. We believe in ilmul ghaib for an Imam. We believe in, I would say, wilaya takwiniya. These mainstream Shi'ism today will have these concepts, yes? But back then, it wasn't as mainstream. And so here, Imam Jafar-e-Sadiq, he tells this companion of his, he says, whoa, slow down there. At least they know one thing, and that is that Allah wants them to have our wilayah and follow us. And they are following us. Now, they might not believe in those things that you believe in to the T. That's enough for you to disassociate yourselves from them? Tabra'una minhum. The Imam is upset about this. This person says, yes, and he has no choice because he already said it. He says, yeah, we do disassociate ourselves from him, from them. And look at what the Imam says something mind-blowing here. Okay? These are perspective hadiths. The Imam says to him, hey, there's some knowledge that I have that you don't have. Do I disassociate myself from you? No. Is it befitting, is it right for me to disassociate myself from you because you don't have the understanding that I do? Because we all know, brothers and sisters, no matter how much we believe in imamah, we don't have ma'rifah of imamah the way the imams themselves had ma'rifah of imamah, right? So the Imam says, my understanding of imamah is much better than yours. Do I disassociate myself? The person says, no, may I be your sacrifice. And then look what the Imam does to really put the nail in the coffin. The Imam goes on, he says, well, did you know that there's a ma'rifah that Allah has that we don't have? And this person says, yeah, and he says, do you see that Allah casts us aside? Ittarahana, that Allah casts us imams aside because we don't have the ma'rifah that He has? Of course not. He says, no, wallahi, ju'iltu fidak. I'm sorry, I swear by Allah, it's not the case. Allah doesn't do such a thing. Fadak, ma naf'al. What should we do? Now, how do I make up for this? He says, tawallawhum, befriend them. Be their wali. Wali here means to be the friend of someone, to have that wilayah, the ukhuwah and brotherhood amongst each other. وَلَا تَبَرَّأُ مِنْهُمْ or تَبْرَأُ مِنْهُمْ. Don't disassociate yourselves from them. إِنَّ مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. And this is the part that's important that we have to understand. He says that amongst the Muslimin, which is interesting, the Imam, the context was about the Shia, and that there are some Shia who have the wilayah, but they don't have all of the ma'rifah. But the Imam generalizes more. When he wants to give the actual rule here, he generalizes more. He says, Inna min al-Muslimin, out of the Muslims out there. So he doesn't even keep it within the Shia now. Because those of you who know, in our hadiths, usually Muslim refers to anyone, Shi'i, Sunni, whatever. But Mu'min refers to Shia. Here the Imam says, Inna min al-Muslimin. Verily, out of the Muslims out there, man lahu sahmun, wa minhum man lahu sahman, thalathatu ashum, arba'atu ashum, khamsatu ashum, all the way till sab'atu ashum. He says there are Muslims out there who have one share of iman, probably, is what the Imam means here. One share of faith. One unit of faith. There are those who have sahman, 2. There are those who have 3, 4, 5, 6. The Imam goes up to 7. In other hadiths, they'll go up to 10. The point here, brothers and sisters, is this. He wants to draw this conclusion. He says, so it's not befitting, it's not good, it's not right for the one, yes, who has one share, one unit, to be compared to the one who has 2. And the one who has 2 to be compared to the one who has 3. And the one who has 3 compared to the 4, that as if the 4 is the measuring stick for the one who has 3. God has given you 3. God has given you this much potential. And then you want to be compare yourself or whoever else it is to someone who's higher. Yes, it is one thing to try to shoot for the stars when it comes to spiritual growth. That's a given. And the sky is the limit. But he says at the end of the day, there are some who have this much and Allah has given them this much. For them, for that person, that person's 100% is the 2 units that he has. Another person has 6 and their 100% is the 6. We have to understand this, brothers and sisters. And I really like how the Imam, the wording here is very interesting. When he wanted to, the context was about Shia. But then when he wanted to draw the conclusion, he generalized even more and he came out of that. What do we get out of all this, brothers and sisters? I'm going to skip a lot of what I wanted to cover, but just in the interest of time, because we started a little late and I want to end on time. The Imam goes on and gives an example of a story in this hadith, where he tells this person a story of, and some of you, if not most of you, have heard this story, that the story of a person who, super religious, and had a Christian neighbor, okay? A Christian neighbor. And he invited his Christian neighbor to Islam. You know, we all might have that Christian friend of ours that we feel is ready to embrace Islam, you know? And so we might give them a hard time every now and then. Now, this person also reaches out to his Nasrani friend, it says. And this person embraces Islam. And when he embraces Islam, alhamdulillah, you embrace Islam. The next morning, this person is knocking on that ex-Christian's door before Salat al-Fajr, knocking on his door. What is it? Who is it? It's me, your Muslim friend. Okay, what do you want? Tawadda, go make wudu. Let's go pray. Salat al-Layl. Long story short, brothers and sisters, Salat al-Layl, then Salat al-Fajr, then, I don't know, Bayn al-Tulu'ain, and then after that, he tells them, look, it's almost Dhuhr time, let's wait for Dhuhr, and then Dhuhr, and then look, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, he says, Isha, the last Salat is left. Isha, let's do Isha, and then you can go home. And so what's cool is that Imam Sadiq is mentioning this story to prove his point that every person is different. You cannot impose this understanding that everyone has the same capacity and potential for spirituality and religiosity. It's wrong. This perspective has to be fixed, or else people are going to leave the religion. Look at what the Imam says in the end. Imam Sadiq tells this individual, he tells him, in the end, this person prayed his Isha prayer, goes home, this ex-Christian. Next day comes again before Fajr time, a knock on the door. Who is it? It's your Muslim friend. Go make wudu, let's go pray. The person says, "Utlub lihada din man huwa afragu minni." Go find somebody. I'm not interested anymore. Go find somebody who has more free time, yes, for this religion than me. I have a family to feed. Yes, go find somebody else. And so the Imam concludes. He says, "Adkhalahu fi shay'in akhrajahu min." This person brought another person into something that the same person exited and took out from that person out from. You bring somebody into Islam and you're the same one who takes them out of Islam because of your flawed perspective. Thank God, God is not like this, brothers and sisters. Thank God, God doesn't have such a perspective, or else we would all be in trouble. Allah understands that, all of us, we have different capacities. Now, what lessons can I take away from this? I'm gonna go through very quickly. That number one, what this story that I had a lot more to say about, but as I said, I wanted to get to the point. Number one, I get personally out of this story, this hadith by Imam Sadiq, which is a perspective hadith, is that you can't judge others, because it's letting us know people are different. People are of different statuses. Another hadith I wanted to share with you tonight was that, like, the Imam says the same thing, except he says 10 steps, and he compares it to a ladder. This spirituality, religiosity is like a ladder, he says. One person is on the first step, one is on the second step, one on the fourth, fifth, 10th step. And they cannot push each other down and say, oh, you're not as good as me, or something like that. Because the same will happen to them with the person that's on top of them at a higher step than they are. Right? So if this is the case, And the Imams are teaching us to have such a perspective, and that there's no room left for judging others when it comes to spirituality and religiosity. Yes, if someone is doing something wrong, there is always amr bil ma'ruf and nahi anil munkar and things like that. But can I judge now someone's spiritual growth? No. How can I? There's no way. It's impossible. There are so many variables that come into play that we're not aware of. Let God do the judging, brothers and sisters. Yes, each person has their own 100%. Ayatollah Bahjat has his own 100%. A person like Karbala Kazmi, who was illiterate, they say, but then ended up becoming a person who knew the Quran and could see the Quran when it was written in between Arabic texts. He could tell because he would see the light. That person has his own 100%. We all have our 100%. This does not mean, of course, and this is not a free pass now for people to be lazy. No, of course not. But we have to understand that we do have such a thing out there, and we have to be considerate of that as well. That's number one lesson. Number two lesson: if I'm on the spiritual path, and I'm a spiritual wayfarer, as they say, I'm a salik ilallah. I'm trying to be, yeah. I'm not going to look at others and see where others are. And then when I do see where they are, I look at them like, oh, look at that person. He doesn't get up for Salatul Layl, for example. No, who cares? That's none of your business. It's none of my business. First of all, second of all, maybe they're not fit for it. How do you know? How do I know? Ayatollah Ansari Hamadani, one of the greatest of all time, passed away maybe 40, 50 years ago. And there are stories about him, books on him. He had one line. He was one of the great urafa. He had a line that I would always keep in mind, especially when I thought I'm a very good person back in the day. Now I know I'm not a very good person, but back then, when I thought I was a good person, this would always come into my mind. What he had said to his students who were also on the path of spiritual wayfaring. He had told them, these normal sheikhs out there, meaning the ones that aren't like into the spiritual wayfaring the way you are, don't you ever, ever look down on them. Not in a way that they find out, even in your hearts. They're doing their job and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and you do what you need to do. This is lesson number 2 that comes out of it. Lesson number 3 that I get out of this is that if there are people out there that I feel are falling short of what the Imams actually are, inshallah, Allah will guide them. I don't understand where this idea comes from amongst our youth. Sometimes they're pointing finger to each other. Yeah, this person, that person. Or you hear people talking about how this person is muqassir, that person is muqassir. You want me to share a hadith with you that I found? In Amali of Al-Tusi, it says here, it's a hadith, I can't share all of it, but I'll share the part that I need especially, that the Imam tells one of his people, إِلَيْنَا يَرْجِعُ الْغَالِي فَلَا نَقْبَلُهُ وَبِنَا يَلْحَقُ الْمُقَصِّرُ فَنَقْبَلُهُ. Like anyone who points their finger to somebody and wants to call people out and say, oh, they're muqassir, brothers and sisters. Yes, it's not good to be muqassir, but the Imam says, the ghali, the ones who exaggerate, when they come to me, we won't accept them, the Imam says. And he explains why in this hadith he doesn't accept them. But as I said, in the interest of time, I'm going to leave that. He says we won't accept the ghali, but when the muqassir comes to us, the one who didn't believe in us the way they were supposed to, we will take them in, because there's a difference between the two. The one who didn't have the right understanding was falling short versus the one who was overdoing it. Yeah. So this is something that we have to be careful about. People are different, brothers and sisters. Each has their own capacity. And so when it comes to this ma'rifah, in this hadith, the Imam was teaching us. He said, why do you disassociate yourself just because they don't believe the same way you do? Every person's different. Yeah, try to guide them. Try to teach them. That's a different story. But all in all, you don't disassociate because of something like this. Another one that I want to share with you, another lesson that we get out of all this, and inshallah I'll end, is that, if each of us has a potential when it comes to spiritual growth, and each of us has a certain position, at the same time, when it comes to matters of the dunya, each of us has our own position. and we're not supposed to overstep it. One person is good for one thing, is not good for another thing. Someone might be super spiritual, but they're not good for something else. One person might be good at managing things, another person is not good at managing things. Every person should stay where they're supposed to stay, in those positions that they're supposed to have. If spirituality is like this, then normal affairs will also probably be the same. Let us take our hearts to Medina and for a couple minutes of Masa'ib, and then we will have our matam as well. I just want to read here for you that it says, time and time again, the Khalifa Mansur al-Dawaniqi, he would summon the Imam. He would summon the Imam, and with disrespect. One of these times, it got very bad that Mansur al-Dawaniqi, he told his henchmen to go after the Imam in the middle of the night and to bring the Imam no matter what, the way he is. And so they brought him just like that, no turban on his head. They say the Imam, they tied his hands to the horse that was in front. Ibn Rabi', his name was, is on the horse, and they're going. Imam Sadiq was old, 65 years old, and he can't keep up. And so they say he kept falling and hitting the ground. God knows what happened to his clothing. Back then, if you didn't wear a turban, that was disrespectful if someone didn't let you wear a turban on your head. This is a man, bareheaded, barefooted, falling, dragged, getting back up again. When he reaches Mansur, they say he's sweating, and sweat is dripping from his white beard. He says to him, don't send Ibn Rabi' in the middle of the night. My family gets worried, and he insults me, he slanders me. And they say Mansur was very angry that night. He drew his sword 3 times, but he sheathed his sword again. And the Imam was safe from that, what happened to him that night. But eventually, they poisoned the Imam, and the Imam lost his life to the poison that was given to him, as history they tell us. But I want to take our hearts to, as there in Medina, take our hearts to something else that happened in Medina. That if they dragged Imam al-Sadiq A.S. on the grounds, Imam Ali was also dragged. They were dragging Imam al-Sadiq at nighttime. No one saw. Ali ibn Abi Talib, that champion, that warrior, was dragged in the day in front of everyone. Think about what's going through the mind of Ali ibn Abi Talib. If they tied the hands of Imam al-Sadiq A.S. in front of his women and children, no one attacked the women and children. But Ali ibn Abi Talib, his hands are tied as he's watching them attack Fatima al-Zahra. أبكي لذريتي وما تصنع بهم شرار أمتي من بعدي كأني بفاطمة بنتي وقد ظلمت بعدي وهي تنادي يا أبتاه فلا يعينها أحد من أمتي. That Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, it's as if I see Fatima calls unto me, O father, but there is no one to respond to her call. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
लाल तेरी लाश पे तीरों का कफन है, लाल तेरी लाश पे तीरों का कफन है, ज़हरा के लबों पर सरे मक़तल ये सुखन है, लाल तेरी लाश पे तीरों का कफन है, तू रन में तड़पता रहा सहरोज का प्यासा, अफसोस तेरा खुश्क गला शिम्र ने काटा, ये रीत कहाँ की है, कहाँ का ये चलन है, लाल तेरी लाश पे तीरों का कफन है, इस दश्ते मुसीबत में قیامت ہے یہ کیسی، چادر کا کفن بھی وہ تجھے دے نہیں سکتی، چادر لوٹی بازو بندھے بے پردہ بہن ہے، اے لال تیری لاش پہ تیروں کا کفن ہے، خنجر تیری گردن پہ سرے دشت چلا ہے، خنجر سے مگر لال گلا میرا کٹا ہے، بہتا ہوا شہرگ کا لہو میں ہے بے سخن ہے، اے لال تیری لاش پہ تیروں کا کفن ہے، خون علی اصغر تیرے چہرے پہ لگا ہے، اور تیرا لہو رخ پہ تیری ماں نے ملا ہے، سادات کے ہی خون سے اب سرخ یہ بن ہے، اے لال تیری لاش پہ تیروں کا کفن ہے، آ گیا عالم غازی کے خون میں تر، شبیر نوحگر ہے، آ گیا عالم غازی کے خون میں تر، شبیر نوحگر، بی بی تیرا چچا پانی نہ لا سکا، بازو قلم ہوئے ہے مشق خون میں تر، ہے آ گیا عالم غازی کے خون میں تر، شبیر نوحگر، مانا کے پیاس تھی بچوں کو آس تھی، دریا پہ ہے چچا پھر کیسی تشنگی، لیکن یہ کیا ہوا غازی نہ سکا، آواز اللہ تک جاتی تھی عرش پر، ہے آ گیا عالم غازی کے خون میں تر، شبیر نوحگر، بالی سکینہ کو کوئی خبر نہ دے، دریا کی گود میں عباس سو گئے، مت انتظار کر رکھ کوزے خاک پر، غازی نہ آئے گا معصومہ صبر کر، ہے آ گیا عالم غازی کے خون میں تر، شبیر نوحگر، ریحان اور علی دنیا ہے ماتمی، ہر لب پہ ہے فغان ہر آنکھ میں نمی، ماتم بپا کرو نوحہ پڑھا کرو پانی پہ نظر دو غازی کے نام پر آ گیا علم غازی کے خون میں تر شبیر ناگر بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد وعجل
ایک دفعہ
فرجہ.
بہت شکر گزار ہوں ڈیلس کے مومنین کا اور مومن سینٹر کا جنہوں نے مجھے اس ثواب میں شامل ہونے کا موقع دیا. آپ کے نماز کا وقت ہو گیا ہے اس لیے اتنا وقت نہیں بچا. انشاءاللہ زندگی رہی تو پھر کبھی انشاءاللہ حاضر ہوں گا آپ کی خدمت میں. بہت دعاؤں میں یاد رکھیے گا اور مولا سب کو اپنے حفظ و امان میں رکھیں.
آمین. جزاک اللہ. یہ تھے علی کاظمی بھائی. ہم علی کاظمی بھائی کے تہ دل سے مشکور و ممنون ہیں کہ وہ اسلامک سینٹر مومن کی دعوت پہ نوخانی اور سوزخانی کے لیے تشریف لائے. انشاءاللہ روبرو ملاقات رہے گی آپ سے انشاءاللہ تعالی مومن میں. اور خدا آپ کو صحت و سلامتی دے, خدا آپ کو سلامتی رکھے. اور انشاءاللہ ہماری دعاؤں میں اور آپ سے بھی التجا کرتے ہیں کہ ہمارے لیے دعا کیجیے گا. جزاک اللہ علی بھائی, تھینک یو سو مچ.
بہت شکریہ.
میں اب باقر بھائی سے گزارش کروں گا کہ زیارت پڑھ دیں. باقر بھائی زیارت پڑھا دیں گے؟ السلام علیکم یا رسول اللہ, السلام علیکم یا نبی اللہ, السلام علیکم علی المرتضی وسیع رسول اللہ رب العالمین, السلام علیکم فاطمۃ الزہرا سیدۃ النساء العالمین, السلام علیکم حسن والحسین سید شباب اہل الجنہ, السلام علیکم علی ابن الحسین ومحمد ابن علی وجعفر ابن محمد وموسیٰ ابن جعفر وعلی ابن موسیٰ ومحمد ابن علی وعلی ابن محمد والحسن ابن علی. السلام علیکم یا صاحب الزمان, السلام علیکم شریک القرآن, السلام علیکم امام الجان سیدی مولائی اجل اللہ تعالی فرجک وصل اللہ تعالی مخرجک وظہورک ورحمت اللہ وبرکاتہ. اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجہم. السلام علیکم ورحمت اللہ وبرکاتہ.